story of the Redheaded Hitchhiker of Rehoboth can be definitively traced back to the prehistoric year of 1994. That's when it was published in the New England Ghost Files by Charles Turek Robinson. It's such a classic that buying it from Amazon is going to run you almost $40, so if you get a chance to read it, you really should. Just because the story was put down on paper doesn't mean that was when it was created. This is folklore of the highest caliber. There's really no telling when it started, but stories of the hitchhiker have been around for many, many years. It typically goes something like this. You're driving down Route 44 in Rehoboth when you see him on the side of the road. He has red hair, a red flannel shirt, jeans or work pants, and work boots. He has his thumb in the air, and many good motorists stop to pick him up. The flannel shirt and work boots are also why he's sometimes referred to as the hitchhiking lumberjack.
He's a lumberjack and he's okay. He sleeps all night and he works all day.
I cut down trees, I skip and jump. I like to press wildflowers. I put on women's clothing and hang around in bars.
So, they pick him up and he usually gets into the back seat of the car. He's totally silent and never answers any questions that the drivers ask him. Where are you going, stranger? Nothing. Cold night, isn't it? No answer. Are you wearing panties under your jeans? He just sits there and stares right into the driver's eyes through the mirror. Speaking of eyes, there are lots of different descriptions of them. Some people say they're red, others say they're black, some even say they're glowing, but that's really the only discrepancy in his appearance. Everything else about him is pretty much the same from story to story. It should come as no surprise that drivers end up with a real sense of uneasiness at this point, and that's when it happens. They look away for a second, look back at the hitchhiker, and no one's there. He vanishes without a trace and is never seen by the same person again. There are some variations of this, though. Lots of stories have the drivers hearing his evil laughter playing over the radio after he disappears. Some stories even have him appearing outside the car, floating alongside it as it drives down the road. Other times, he reappears right in the passenger seat, laughing and staring at the drivers. If there's a story to be told about him, it's been told. So that's the basic gist of the Redheaded Hitchhiker of Rehoboth. You can pretty much find stories about him anywhere. In fact, that's exactly what I did. I asked people to share their personal hitchhiker stories with me, and here's what I got. I was talking to a person named
Name withheld.
And here's what they had to tell me.
As a child, my dad told me he had some paranormal experiences on 44 in Raynham and Rehoboth area.
Now, being the inquisitive feller I am, I asked for some details, to which they responded.
I remember him saying when he was a young driver, something about a lumberjack ghost. I was young, probably 7, 8, or 9, so I'm not sure how accurate that is. He has since passed, but he talked about that incident often.
Now, if you were paying attention, the lumberjack part is going to stick out to you. It stuck out to me, and that's why I suggested it might be the Redheaded Hitchhiker.
Yes, the red hair, that struck a memory. So cool.
So there you have it. It's a real story from a real person about the hitchhiker passed down through an entire generation. It may not be a direct first-hand account, but this person's father certainly knows what he saw. You can also find plenty of stories about him on the internet. Here's a YouTube video where some people go looking for him, husky ghost hunter voices and all.
Me and my homeboy Greg take on Route 44. Where rumor has it, a red-headed hitchhiker roams around. What's up, guys? It's your boy Fluffy, back with another video. And 3 a.m. actually. It's a little bit after 3 a.m. It's actually 3:07 a.m. Tonight, I'm here with my boy Greg. We are on a haunted road in Rehoboth, Massachusetts, on Route 44. It's actually known to be haunted, such known as the red-headed hitchhiker.
And here's one with a person relating other experiences from people.
All of a sudden, we have blues, and police officer is pulling us over. And we're like, oh god, here we go. So we pull over the side of the road. He comes with the vehicle and he shines a flashlight into the car and asks me, what are you guys doing? And we were completely honest with him. We didn't lie. We said, to be honest with you, we're driving up and down the road looking for the red-headed hitchhiker. And he laughs and he goes, well, that's not the first time I heard that. But he's like, I can tell you this much. He's like, when I first started, and this is a couple years ago, he said I was driving. This is my very first night by myself. I was driving up down Route 44, and I saw what was supposed to look like a man in a flannel shirt dart into the woods side of the road. And he gets out and he kind of scans the woods, calls out, somebody's in there, get out of there, come out. There's nothing. And he gets back to his cruiser, and his radio signal in the cruiser is completely dead. He can't get back to dispatch. And he hears what he thinks is somebody talking over the radio, but I can't make out what he's saying. And then he said that he got a very strange feeling. He said that it felt like somebody had turned the air conditioner on in the car.
So the point is that there are plenty of stories about the ghost, so it must be real, right? Well, possibly, but it's a really big coincidence that this kind of story has been told since the very concept of roads became a thing. Laurel Canyon in California has a ghost carriage drawn by ghost horses that causes accidents on the road by ignoring a red light. The M6, which is British speak for highway, is hella haunted. They have ancient Roman soldiers marching along it, a phantom truck following its former route, and even a distraught female hitchhiker trying to catch a ride. Then, there's Resurrection Mary. You don't have to look hard to learn about her. She's pretty much the OG highway ghost, and sightings go all the way back to 1939. The story goes that several men driving northeast along Archer Avenue between the Willowbrook Ballroom and Resurrection Cemetery have reported picking up a young female hitchhiker. This young woman is dressed somewhat formally in a white party dress and is said to have light blonde hair and blue eyes. There are other reports that she wears a thin shawl, dancing shoes, carries a small clutch purse, and that she is very quiet. As the driver nears Resurrection Cemetery, she disappears. This is just to say that there are lots of highway ghosts, but we're getting off track. Let's come back to Route 44 and find out what else is going on in the Redheaded Hitchhiker stomping ground. Route 44 is a mighty fine route that goes through Rhode Island and lasts for 237 miles. I spoke to another person named
Name withheld,
and her story takes place in East Providence. I'll let her tell it.
When I worked at Greg's in East Providence, there was a ghost of a woman who wore a 1950s red shirtwaist dress. Usually she would whisper in the cook's ears after closing time, scared the bejesus out of a busboy on his first day and almost killed me. I was closing the pub one night and there was a newly installed plate of glass that was positioned over the salad bar. It literally split in half, and if another waitress didn't pull me away, I would have been shredded. Shards went everywhere. She does not like the waitresses. One time I noticed she pulled out a coffee filter while a pot was brewing, and I even think she pushed me down the stairs. While I was working there in the 90s, a manager told me they had a medium visit the restaurant, and allegedly it is the ghost of a woman who watched her daughter get hit by a truck on 44. She witnessed it through her living room window in the house that once stood where the restaurant now stands. I don't know if she is still there though.
So that's just one more ghost story along the same road. It doesn't end there though. In fact, AAA calls Route 44 the most haunted road in the United States. There's something else though. Check out this map. Rehoboth is one corner of the Bridgewater Triangle. If this route goes through a paranormal vortex, then it must pick up that energy and carry it along the entire path, right? Well, yeah. Raynham is where you find the Hockomock Swamp, which is rife with paranormal stories. Rehoboth is also home to Hornbein School, where a class is full of ghost children, complete with a ghost teacher, have been spotted. There's also activity reported at Chad Factory Pond, as well as Village Cemetery. The longer you look at Route 44, the more paranormal activity you find, and it seems like the Redheaded Hitchhiker himself is busier than ever before. There have been more sightings in the past few years, and he's not showing any signs of slowing down. So what does that all mean? If you want the paranormal explanation, then there's a whole thing about in-between places that explains it. These are places that are between two places, just like it says on the package. Think of bridges, hallways, hospitals, and roads. They're the spaces you inhabit while you're going from one spot to another. That's exactly what ghosts are doing. They're still inhabiting this world while moving on to the next. That's why their energy is so attracted to the spaces that the living use as go-betweens. That's why there could be so much activity along Route 44. It's hundreds of miles of in-between space, and spiritual energy can't help but be attracted to it. But what about an explanation from this plane of existence? The simplest explanation is that humans just want to believe that something's out there. It happens all the time, and it's really just your brain trying to keep you alive. As popular science puts it, you have two possible reactions to something that may or may not be there. Just think about hiking through the woods and hearing a noise off the trail. You can either assume it was nothing and go on with your day, or you can assume it's something dangerous and run away from it. Your brain is going to go with the safer option every single time, especially when you're alone. You'll start to imagine every type of predator your brain can come up with and peace out forthwith. It's the same thing when you're driving down an empty road at night. Anything that could potentially look like a human is going to do exactly that. It doesn't matter if it was just a shadow in your headlights or a deer running off into the woods. If you believe in ghosts and the thought of them elicits fear, then that's what your brain is going to make you see. Of course, that only explains sightings. It doesn't do anything for the stories of picking up an actual hitchhiker and having him disappear on you. That's an explanation that no one can really come up with. Either it happened and the Redheaded Hitchhiker is real, or it didn't and the flanneled phantom is nothing more than a collection of misinterpretations and lies. It's really up to you to decide which one you believe. If you want to believe that the Redheaded Hitchhiker is real, then you should. There are more than enough stories to read and listen to. If you're really up for an experience, then drive down Route 44 in Rehoboth at 2 or 3 in the morning. That's when he's the most active. There's also plenty of evidence that he might be real. Those in-between places are beacons for paranormal activity, and there's a whole lot more to the universe than what our 5 senses can tell us. Pick him up on the side of the road and give him a ride. Just prepare yourself for the jump scare at the end and give him the reaction he's looking for. He deserves it. He puts a lot of work into this. If you don't believe in the Redheaded Hitchhiker, then don't worry about it. Take a nighttime drive down the very same road and relax in the knowledge that ghosts aren't real and nothing can hurt you. Just keep a lookout though. You not believing in the Redheaded Hitchhiker doesn't mean he doesn't believe in you. Hey, thanks for listening. If you like odd and haunted history, please subscribe to Slightly Odd America on YouTube and like and follow Slightly Odd America on the podcast app of your choice. You can also join in on the fun by following us at facebook.com/thenewslightlyOddFitchburg. We're always asking for story suggestions and sharing updates on what's coming next. You can also help support this whole thing by buying your very own copy of Slightly Odd Fitchburg, The Odd and Haunted History of Central Massachusetts. It's filled with New England folklore and stories that we've been researching for years, and you can get it in paperback, digital print, and even as an audiobook. You can find links to everything in the description as well as on slightlyoddfitchburg.com. That's also where we have handmade custom-built Ouija boards and super fun t-shirts. There are many more stories to share, so until next time, keep being odd and proud.